Hey everyone, welcome back to the Layback Podcast. Joining us today is someone near and dear to my heart, Rick Koch. I actually recruited Rick way back in the day. So Rick was an athlete of mine back at Eckerd College. I think he might have been a player of mine for all of about 2 weeks
Something
until
like that,
Flex Pro
yeah.
Grip started taking off and I had to go out to Arizona to do some work with the Padres. So right after bringing in a complete recruiting class, I stood in the locker room with everyone and said, "See you later, guys. I've got some stuff going on." But Rick and I have stayed connected over the years. Obviously, it's been awesome to watch him play and watch him grow across his collegiate career. But unfortunately, we had to start talking a good bit more this past winter when he endured a UCL sprain. So from there, we did some non-operative rehab with Flex Pro Grip. He got back to throwing this summer, and now he's committed to play his last years of collegiate ball at University of Texas at Dallas. And Rick is back now competing in Germany. He's pitching in the Bundesliga, and he has some national team appearances under his belt as well. So, Rick, thanks a ton for joining us today. I'm going to kick it over to you now to pick up the pieces for me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You kind of covered all of it, but I'm basically born and raised in Germany, which is really not known for baseball, I'll be honest, but I've really had a great time playing in America the last 4 years, just getting to know a lot of more about the American culture and playing with Americans. And then obviously for me a big piece of my puzzle is also coming back in the summer and then playing here, playing for the Bundesliga and then also playing for the national team. So that's kind of what I've been doing the last couple months, and my elbow has been feeling fine. So that's definitely a good start to the season.
Awesome. Let's wind things back a little bit and kind of start from the beginning. Just the bomb that you dropped that, or I guess that we dropped, that you were born and raised in Germany and you play collegiate baseball. As you said, Germany is not known for baseball. How did you even get into baseball?
I mean, I think if it wouldn't be for my dad, the only experience I would have had with baseball is probably Wii baseball, that. But my dad is American, so we just kind of started playing catch in the garden and in the backyard. And I was always really bad at soccer, but everybody told me I had to play soccer because I'm German. But I was just riding the bench and I was playing catch with my dad, and I was like, this is way more fun than kicking a ball. So we looked for teams in the area, and we found actually a good amount of tiny small teams around me that I started at, and then from there it just kicked off. I just fell in love with the sport, and my dad has been really supportive with it too. But it's definitely very different here growing up playing baseball than it is in America for sure.
How old were you when you played in your first competitive baseball game? Like your first organized game?
I think I was 11.
Okay, so a little
Yeah.
bit later
Yeah.
than most Americans, which is crazy now that organized baseball starts at like 6, 7 years old,
Yeah,
maybe 8
no.
years
I
old.
mean, we have it here, but for most people, it really starts with U12. That's
Okay.
when it kind of picks up. And I'll be honest, those were probably the most fondest memories I have of playing baseball. Just U12 baseball, playing with the boys, playing in the rain. We played on soccer fields, we didn't have baseball fields back then, for the U12. And then going from that to actually playing on a big field when you're U15, the jump was just crazy.
Did you have to travel a good bit because there aren't a ton of teams in Germany? Obviously, when you were in St. Pete, you saw there's a team in a field literally on
Yeah.
every block. Baseball is a part of your childhood there, versus I'm assuming you needed to work a lot harder just to have access to baseball.
Yeah, I think in our city, which has 1.2 million people, we have three baseball teams. And if you think about that, that's like saying St. Pete only has three baseball teams. There's 50 fields. There's probably more fields in St. Pete than all of Germany, which is crazy because I always go to these fields in Germany and I think they're sick, right? Because that's what I'm used to. And then I go to some random high school field in Florida. I'm like, this would be the best field in all of Germany. It's just the level of just facilities and how many facilities you all have in America is just insane. It's just on a different level. As I said, most people here play on soccer fields. Like we set up the fence before the game, we set up the bases, we have like portable mounds. Like we don't have what you guys have.
Do you think there's aspects to that that have kind of shaped who you are as a baseball player? Like not taking things for granted, how hard you're willing to work, how appreciative you are for the things around you?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you play here, U12, like you have to love the game. Like you absolutely have to love the game, otherwise you're not going to survive because like it's a grind. And I think in America, like a lot of people just like take a lot of stuff for granted that I just like didn't. Like for us, it's like if you want to make it, like you have to grind. You actually have to do stuff. You have to like set up the field. You have to be proud. You have to be hardworking. And I think that definitely like helped me a lot. Like I don't think I've ever thought about it that way, but like looking back, it definitely like helped me a lot.
After some minor technical difficulties, maybe you guys picked up on it with a little bit of lag here and there. We've got things all figured out. Has nothing to do with internet connection or us being across seas, and it has everything to do with Rick's 4.0 GPA in his time in college and taking, I don't know, what are you, a triple major or something like that? You got a lot of work on that
Yeah,
thing, slowing it
I
down.
think I took like 6 class per semester, so like there's way too much stuff on the laptop, so it kind of overheated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we had to switch to the phone, but we're dialed in now. We got it figured out. And if you guys are consuming this visually, you can see the Wi-Fi router over his right shoulder. So if he has bad internet, we know exactly what the culprit is. Getting back to it, Rick, you were talking about just kind of your perspective, what you went through, maybe not having as much access to facilities as some of the guys around you, really not knowing what baseball looked like in the States until
Yeah.
you actually showed up. What did you notice as a difference maybe from your teammates? Like, were your teammates any different in Germany versus in the States, whether the way they carried themselves, their self-belief, or just the way they interacted with their coaches or equipment?
Yeah, I think like one thing I definitely noticed was just that people had played a lot more, if that makes sense. In America, people play a lot of games. Like I feel like the pitchers I talked to that were on my team coming in, they probably already had like 500 innings like in their life. And I'm standing there and I've probably had like maybe 80 innings if it comes like maybe like not even that. So like the biggest difference I noticed first off the bat, like they just played a lot more because like in Germany we only play on the weekends. Like we never play during the week. And then like we don't have a high school season, like we just play summer ball. That's it. So if you think about like all these like high school kids and then like people that I competed with in America, they came from playing high school baseball, then summer ball, and they had more games like during both of them. So like just the difference of like experience and how much they played, I think that really showed just in the way you carry yourself. I think like it's minute stuff, but if you play every day, like you play the game differently.
And do you feel that impacted the way that you carried yourself? Now, going back to that kind of same ilk of a question as
Yeah.
earlier, I'm sure that led to you having to work significantly harder or as hard as you can. I mean, everybody works hard for the most part in college baseball. Of course, there's a couple guys that are just kind of riding out the string, but for anybody that wants to be good, they're working hard.
Yeah.
And is that kind of what inspired you to work as hard as you did, just knowing that you were up against people that had so much more experience?
I think the biggest difference is that I learned how to love practice because I practice so much. I love practice. I love getting better. Like, I mean, you've known me, like, if there's one thing I love is like looking at myself from a year ago and being like, oh, I'm better than that guy. Like I actually got better. Like I hate feeling like I'm doing the same thing. I love going to the weight room, even the PT stuff I had to do. Like, I love doing that stuff. And I think a lot of the other kids, like they only love playing. That's the only thing they love, and that's good. You're supposed to love the game, and at some fault, I think I actually, for a time there, like didn't love the game enough. I loved practice too much. But I think that's kind of why, because like I had 5 days of practice and then one day of game. So for me, like if I didn't enjoy practice, like I would not get through German baseball, if that makes sense. So I think in that way, it definitely helped me to just appreciate like the aspect of just getting better and like practicing every day. Whereas some kids just like they play games and then they have to practice, if that makes sense.
Totally. No, no, that makes complete sense. I mean, I lived it. I remember getting to the point in life where I played 5 games a week, if not more. And that was my freshman, sophomore year of high school. And I mean, you never got to that point until you were actually in the States playing college ball. Expand that over, as you said earlier, years, and the pitchers have hundreds more innings than you, hundreds more appearances. I mean, all the above. Like, you can take that down to competitive baseball starting, as we were saying earlier, at age 8. Like, I remember pitching for the first time as an 8-year-old. And for you, like, you probably didn't even know there were baseball teams at 8 years old.
Yeah, and it's also just like the level of play, right? Like when I grew up, we were always on the best team. Like we run ruled. I think I run ruled every team until I was like 18 years old. Like I'm not even kidding. Like every single game I played for U18, I run ruled people. And it's like it's not really competitive baseball. But then the flip side of that, which I think really helped me actually, was as soon as I turned 15, like I played with adults. Because like I had to get like some real exposure. I had to play against better people. So like that taught me a lot. I think that people in America never get because they only play with the same age group, right? Like people in high school play with people in high school, people in college play with people in college, and then pro ball is a bit different. But like for us here, as soon as you turn 15, you can play with the adults. And then like I played with a guy who was like 42. You know how much like experience I could soak up from him? Like he played third base. He didn't play my position, but just like baseball IQ and stuff like that. So it was just a very different like environment growing up.
And speaking of different environments, obviously the recruiting environment was incredibly different for
Yeah.
you. We met for the first time when you were at a showcase at Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, you were just on like a miniature tour of the United States for a
Yeah.
month or so, whatever it was, 6 weeks, just hoping somebody would see you to give you an opportunity. I'd love if you could kind of go into that, what recruiting as a whole looks like for a European or German baseball player that wants to come play.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even think about college baseball until I was like 17, 16. Like that wasn't even an idea or anything. And then before even the showcase you saw me, I think a year before that, I think it was when I was 16, I went to America and it was kind of like it was called International Stars and was like people from Europe all over coming and playing American colleges. And that's the first time I even realized, oh, there's a thing called college and people play in it. And like that's a thing I could do. And then I went over, I mean, really skinny kid, like topping 80. Like nobody even gave me a look. But I was like, okay, well, this is something like I could do. And then after that, I slowly got fascinated with the idea of like college baseball. And then me and my dad started researching, okay, how can we make this a real thing, right? So I think, was it right after COVID, I think? Oh, right before COVID. I think right after. Yeah, right after COVID, we were like, okay, we're going to fly over to the States for 2 weeks and we're going to have like 5 showcases in Florida, 2 in Texas, 3 in New York. And we just drove like through the United States. And I, for some reason, like, I think I just also performed a lot better when I was there. That was like the first time that I really felt like I actually belong with these guys. Like I think I actually stick out. Like I'm better than these guys. And that's kind of how that started. And then actually on that day, I already was up in the stands. If you remember, you were like at the field. And then my dad was like, you only get this one shot. We literally flew to America. You might as well talk to this coach. The school is right next to us. Like it's on my list of like cool schools to go to. And then I went down and we talked. And it's just like, if I wouldn't have made that step to talk to you and just walked away, like I usually do, because then I wasn't the guy to do that, imagine how different my life would be. So I'm very grateful like that moment happened. And like I'll always look back to that and say, if you want to get to college, like be proactive. Like it's really tough to go, except you're like a superstar, right? And you're like really, really good. But if you're proactive and you're nice and people know that you work hard, like you have a pretty good shot of making a team that you wanna actually go to.
Yeah, I'm grateful that you did come up to me because I, of course, wrote you down. I thought you had potential. I definitely thought you could play at the level that I coached at. But without knowing that you were from
Yeah.
Germany and literally in the States for 2 weeks, my natural progression would be send you an email later that week and try to find a time that you can swing on by,
Yeah.
only to find out that you are thousands of miles away and a couple of plane rides that wouldn't have worked. So, I mean, if it wasn't for that kind of miracle collision of moments and interactions that played out, you never would have seen Eckerd, and we might not have been where we are now. And
And I don't know if you remember too, right before the visit, there was a huge hurricane. It was even like
yes,
I drove through a hurricane to get to the visit, and then I looked at the college like completely in shambles from the hurricane. So like there was a lot of like stuff that had to somehow get right to get it going. But I think like that's life, right?
yeah, and even at that time at Eckerd, we still had really strict COVID restrictions, and I wasn't even allowed to take you really on a visit. You were allowed to
Yeah,
like walk up to the
we
field
just
and
were.
like
Yeah,
kind of see us existing, and you had to walk around the campus on your own. But like if the school found out that like I took you around or something like that, we were going to be in big trouble. Like the NCAA
yeah,
wouldn't have cared at all, but the school's COVID restrictions were insane at the time.
yeah,
So we were definitely dealing with a lot. And I think another piece worth noting, when you came to that camp, you were also playing outfield. And that's actually one of the
yeah,
things that really intrigued me about you, knowing that you had so much potential as a pitcher, but it seemed like at the time you were even a little more polished in the outfield. So what I
yeah.
got really excited about was a big arm, a guy with a big body that could swing the bat okay, knowing that you had athleticism behind you, picturing the pitcher that you could become more so than the pitcher that you were at that moment. Like you
Yeah,
flashed things that I thought were cool or could be impactful, but I saw right away what I thought you could be. And obviously, that's what you've turned into now as a pitcher for the national team
yeah.
and a guy that's throwing in the low 90s and a guy that literally can slam the door at the end of games. But yeah, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your progression from deciding to put the bat away, or I guess your experience as a two-way player before
Yeah.
ultimately becoming a pitcher.
It's so funny because like nowadays I always forget that I even did that. Like I've been a pitcher for so long now that it's like I pitch. But yeah, like when I came to America, it was honestly more as an outfielder, and I just stepped on the mound and tried to throw the ball as hard as I can, and like or could back then, and I had a pretty good curveball. Like that's basically what happened. But even coming into Eckerd College, like that summer, like I didn't know if I wanted to hit or pitch like at Eckerd, right? We'd never really discussed what we wanted to do. And I remember vividly coming in the first day and I hit BP in the cage with somebody else. I think it was Chris Sauer, actually, my roommate. And I hit and I was like, nope, this is not it. Since then, like first practice, I didn't even touch a bat. And I think it happened slowly, but I just realized that I just had a lot more potential pitching wise. And to be honest, always growing up, I didn't really love playing the outfield. Like I loved hitting, but I hated the defensive part. Honestly, like when I was in the ninth inning of the game playing left field, it was more like don't fuck up instead of like, oh, let me get the ball. And when I was on the mound, it's like, oh, like I'm in control. All of that just went away. But I think it definitely helped having both sides of the puzzle. When I was in America in one of the showcases, big light switch was I was in right field and we were doing like throws to third base like we always do. And I threw it to third base, and then the guy behind me was like, "Why do you play the outfield? Like your arm is so good, like, just like hop on the mound." I was like, "Oh, okay. Like people think I should pitch, so let's just try it out." Like I was never a pitcher until like I came to college, right? Like I was a position guy who hopped on the mound in the seventh inning because we didn't have anybody else in the team. I didn't have that like conventional thing of like, oh, you're a starting pitcher in high school. No, like I was an outfielder who just hopped on the mound and thought it was fun. The first couple years of me pitching, and it's still now, right? It's only been 4 years, but it's like I'm starting to learn how to pitch, if that makes sense. Like I feel like for a long time I was just a guy who was on the mound trying to throw the ball as hard as I can. And now I'm actually like, okay, wait, I should probably stop pitching because like that's what I'm gonna do now for the rest of my life.
It's so funny how that stuff happens with some guys
Yeah.
when the bat gets taken out of their hand, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and then just the evolutions that come with it. I'm sure it was really weird for a bit, like recognizing like everything I thought I was as a player is now gone, and then almost feeling like you had to learn the game again as you are in a new country, in a new
Yeah.
place with a new team, in a language that you don't speak and just literally trying to make the roster
Yeah,
and
and also
fight for
like just
playing time.
the practice environment of like being a PO was really weird at the beginning. Being a position guy, I think practice is pretty straightforward, or like I would say honestly more fun. And then I was a PO and I'm like, wait, I just play catch and that's it. I'm just gonna field a couple bunts and then like that's it. It was really weird at the beginning.
I would even say, bringing up some of the other struggles that you went through, I don't think you're alone here. Oftentimes, when two-way guys or guys that were primarily position players before becoming pitchers generally run into some issues when they make the transition, for you being
Yeah.
your shoulder at the time. And I think it's a workload issue, but not as much more throwing. It's because the complete throwing volume has been cut in half, if not more. You
But the
you go from
intensity just
throwing,
goes up.
yeah, you go from throwing nonstop every single day with never thinking about your arm
Yeah.
to then your livelihood is your arm, and that's all that matters. And your total volume is whatever, diminished tremendously. But then, like you said, there's a time or two a week where that intensity is literally fully turned up at 100%, full go, and that's all that matters. And that's a massive learning curve for guys to deal with from a management standpoint, how to stay healthy and I guess deal with the massive shift in what they're experiencing from a workload perspective.
I mean, you literally bring out stuff that I didn't even realize, but now it makes a lot of sense because like the first time I've ever had an injury was so I went to a showcase in November, right? And then like I was starting this like college season in August. And in January, between that, that was the first time I've had shoulder problems in my life. And it's I think because in November I realized, oh, I want to pitch. So I started doing a lot of the pitching program. And then like literally 3 months afterwards, I had a slap tear, which I've like never had in my life. So there's definitely a point to be made about that. In a weird way, once you take your throwing more serious, you're more at risk of like injuring. So you also have to do like all the small stuff. When I was doing at the beginning, when I was pitching, like I didn't do all the important stuff that I know now, like the arm care, like taking care of your body, like realizing how much of a like toll it takes on your body. I was just like, I'm an outfielder, so I'll just throw the same way as I threw as an outfielder, which is like take the ball and throw, but I'll just convert it to being on the mound.
Yeah. And there's this laundry list of things that you need to run through if you are going to be prepared every time your name gets called. And that is a serious wake up call for a lot of guys. Unfortunately, a lot of times it's an injury that slaps them in the face that forces them to get things right. Fortunately for you, it wasn't something that required surgery, but obviously it put a damper on your freshman year and you ultimately didn't
Yeah.
pitch in any games at that time. Now talk to me about that next step in your career. You get through your freshman year, you don't play, you redshirt your freshman year, and then you come back as a sophomore. I know junior year was a little bit funky as well, but you were starting to earn a lot more time. What did those progressions look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's looking back, I think it's like it was really one step at a time. But I remember after freshman year, like I sat down with our head coach after the season. He was basically saying like, I should cut you, but I'm not because I believe in you and I think you have a lot of potential. Because at that time, like to be fair to him, like freshman year I was hurt a lot. I actually was throwing slower almost than I threw during the showcase. I really took a step down when I started to become a pitcher full time. He was like, okay, I'm gonna give you one more fall, but you have to figure out like what you want to do, right? Like you have to show me that you want it. And like that summer was a huge, huge wake up call for me. And the biggest thing that I changed was, I mean, you knew when you recruited me, like I was a very small guy, right? So that summer I gained like not even kidding 40 pounds. And a lot of like it was muscle. And it was just like, okay, I'm gonna attack this. What do I need to do? I need to throw a little faster and I need to be healthy. So what can I do to do that? And that was like the first big step. So I put on like 40 pounds in 4 months, which is crazy now. I think that was like a puberty thing too. And then afterwards was the first time I touched 90. Like I came back to campus, first bullpen through 90. And then I remember then, like everybody was like, oh my God, like he threw 90, like what happened? And I remember right there and then, like after that bullpen, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get cut. now let's actually learn how to pitch. I knew like once I get there, like I'm too valuable from the development standpoint to actually get cut. But I think what happened there, like after that, I couldn't throw a strike for a while, like really a while. So all sophomore year was really me trying to figure out, okay, I can throw 90 now, which is cool, but like let's actually throw a strike, right? So that was kind of the story of sophomore year. Freshman year was get healthy. Sophomore year was like throw a strike. And then junior year comes around. And that's kind of when it like started to click, right? Also, the velo kept going up a bit. That fall, I hit 94, which was just a crazy jump in velo. Like I went from 90 to 94. Like I didn't have like a slow progression. It was like through 90 a lot. And then I did like a 3-week velo phase in the fall. And then all of a sudden I hit 94 and I was like, wait, like what just happened? And then junior year, it was kind of like the same thing as sophomore year with the strikes, but it was a lot better, if that makes sense. Like I was actually competing on the mound, which I think like sophomore year, I wasn't doing. And then jump forward to senior year, I thought that was going to be like, oh, we got the velo now, we got the strikes. And then I added the stuff because that off season I added like 3 new pitches before I was really a 2-pitch guy. But then I got hurt. So we never really got to see like what that would have looked like at Eckerd College in like the D2 level in Florida. But let's hope that I can maybe show that next year, because like it's really like every year I kind of add like a little thing to the overall thing of pitching, if that makes sense. Like if you have all the little layers, but I think that's how I think of it. Like if you focus on one thing at a time, like that's how you really can get better. Like it's really tough to be, oh, I want to throw 94, but I also want to work on the curveball at the same time. I think it's really almost impossible, honestly. It's the same way when you compete, you can't do velo phase while pitching in games. So like kind of finding everything every year, and like I've gotten better from that like every single year.
You're spot on with that. You can't put 100% effort into multiple things. Only one thing can really matter at a time when you're trying to be as good as you can be. And the second that you start trying to focus in multiple areas, it just means you're not going to accomplish anything. You might be able to like ever so slightly refine who you are at that moment, but you're not getting better. As you said, you need to go all in on these very specific pieces. And what this also enables you to do, and you're kind of the perfect picture of it. I was having a conversation with a coach the other day. So much of baseball now is focused on getting the result and getting it instantly. You are the perfect representation of the process and how these things build and how these things stack, and also kind of the order that you need to accomplish these things in. Is it the perfect order? Like, does everyone need to do velo and then figure out command and then figure out stuff? No, probably not. Like, I don't think there's a perfect order to it, but there definitely is an order. And the problem is with like each change, it alters something else in the process. So if you first figured out your command your sophomore year and it made you effective, sweet. But then you're an effective pitcher throwing 85 miles per hour and your career is going to end in a matter of days at that point, because that just doesn't play. Versus you tackled velocity, which bought you another year to then figure out how to pitch. I'm not saying every guy needs to chase velocity just to stay in the game, but if you have velocity under your belt, it certainly buys you a lot of time because you're always at least checking the potential box. And that's what you figured out.
It really sucks that the game is like that, but I think I've gotten a lot of opportunities, like even playing for the German national team. Like I got the foot in the door because I was one of the 5 Germans on the planet right now that can touch 94, right? And I promise you this, like at that time, which was like 2 years ago, they were way better pitchers, right? But it's just the fact like, oh, he can throw fast. He has the potential to develop, which then kind of got the foot in the door. But then I think the important fact after that, and I got stuck in that for a bit, is like, once you get there, like, don't keep chasing velo. Like, you gotta pitch. I always think, like, oh, velo is really cool, but in the end, like, what am I doing? I'm trying to compete in the game. And I think that's, like, kind of the stone that I got this summer, like, after the rehab, was, like, you're pitching in a game, man. You're playing a kid's game. You're 23 years old. Have some fun. Like, play the game instead of just being like, oh, practice, practice, practice. Try to throw faster, 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 faster. No, like, we're playing a game. And I think it's kind of like both of that, like getting all the pieces together. And I'm definitely excited like to see what that looks like in college baseball, because I know what it looks like in the Bundesliga here and like for the national team, and it's looked pretty good. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays against college guys, because it's a totally different game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, guys have metal bats again. Zone is
Yep.
probably a little bit different. Pace of play is probably a little bit different. Like what is deemed successful. And I don't claim to know a lot about what's going on in the Bundesliga besides that it's the German professional league and those guys use wood
Yeah.
bats. But I assume the game is called a little bit differently. The zone's probably a little bit different. And the pitches that are most successful are probably even a little bit different. You hear
Yeah.
pitchers that compete professionally in Japan that have previously thrown in the MLB talk about that all the time. Like guys in Japan just don't strike out. So maybe what are things that you notice about the game in Germany that's been a little bit different from college ball?
I think the biggest difference is like people here don't punish the fastball as much as they do in America. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about, but like the American kid has seen probably 500,000 throws at a 90 at this point. Like 90-mile-per-hour fastball is not like something that's like, oh my God, right? So like you kind of have to pitch around to fastball, like especially in Florida when I was pitching, it's like you almost want to pitch around the fastball and then come back with the fastball. Like if you don't have like an elite fastball, like if you rely on it, you're gonna get hit around. I saw people throw 93 and got hit around like pretty easily. But then like here in Germany, I think you get away with just throwing the fastball a lot, which I've actually not done a lot this year, but I did the years before. And I think that kind of even like hurt me then going into college, because I was like, all I do is basically throw like an outing. Let's say I have 15 pitches, I threw 13 fastballs. Like that's not gonna get me better for like the next level or get me better for like America. So like this year I've been kind of like, okay, try to approach the hitters here as I do in college, because that's actually like the season that really like matters for me.
I want to back things up now and talk about the rehab journey that you went
Yeah.
through this year. Like you said, you were piecing things together in the fall. It seemed like you were really poised for an awesome season this year. I know you were even transitioning to becoming one of the starters. You were going to pitch on the
Yeah.
weekend at Eckerd. So you had a lot of stuff going on, like a lot of wheels turning all at once. You added pitches, you picked up training at Driveline in the off season. It really seemed like this was going to be a breakout year in a sense, or I guess where everything was going to culminate to a head and you were finally going to show what potential can be, what the actual result of potential is. And then, of course, it kind of came crashing down in January. If I'm not mistaken, it was January 16th when we sat at a table outside the baseball stadium. You were just kind of like matter of factly like, my elbow feels like shit and I need you to tell me if I'm okay.
Yeah. It was not a great time. I think for me, I mean, when you were there and like Coach Bo, head coach, right, at the school, like you guys believed in me a lot, and I felt like that was the one year for me to like really pay it back. So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Not only that, but also the fact that I wanted to go to a really good school afterwards, right? Because I still have eligibility. At that point, I had 1 year. Now I have two. Sadly or gladly, whatever. Like I really put a lot of pressure on me, like in that moment. And then I remember like my elbow slowly started feeling worse. And the week before, like right when I came back, I threw in a scrimmage. And then like our pitching coach was like, dude, you look like Nolan Ryan out there. Like that was the best like you've ever thrown in your life. Like what happened over the winter, right? So I was like, this is it, man. Like this is it. Fair enough. Like we didn't have the best season, but I still dominated like our hitters, which is similar caliber to what I'm gonna face. And then literally next week I throw a bullpen and I just like feel pain on my elbow. And like I've told you about the shoulder thing, right? Like I had the shoulder thing, but I've never ever in my life had pain on my elbow. And at that point I was just like, okay, well, this is not good, but it's just like a little pain, right? So I kept throwing through it. And I think the weekend afterwards is when I saw you and I was like, okay, it's been 2 weeks now. It's not really gone away. What is this? And I think like one of the biggest eye-opening moments for me was when we took the Flex Pro Grip and we did the test. And that was like, dude, I am not ready to throw 92. I have no, like my elbow has no business throwing that kind of speed. When we did the test, like, it kind of gives you an estimate, right? And it was, I think, what was it, like 82, what I'm supposed to be like
Yeah, your
handling.
like expected velocity ceiling. or the velocity that you can safely handle
Yeah,
based
there
on the
you go.
force that
There
you're
you go.
producing.
Yeah, and it was like 82, and I was like, well, this makes sense. At least I have an explanation now. Like, and I mean, that's kind of who I am, right? Like before, it like really sucked. Now it sucked a little bit less because I at least know there's something to work on. But I don't know if you remember when we were talking there, like I didn't think I was out for the season. Like
Yeah.
I thought this was like a 2, 3 week thing. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna miss the first start in Georgia. Like sucks, right? And then I like took a week off through again, and the pain didn't go away. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, well, yes, I have a strength problem, but I think it has caused problems now that like I can't just like get away just by doing strength training. Like I actually have to take some time off. And that's kind of when it kicked in, and I was like, okay, I might not actually play the season. And that's when I also went to the doctor, and he was like, okay, you have a UCL strain.
You're diagnosed with the UCL sprain, and from there you ended up getting PRP, correct?
Yeah, it took a while though, because the whole process was just like, okay, you got a UCL strain. What can you do about it? Let's just shut down for a while. But the first doctor I talked to, like, it was just very ambiguous and like a lot of, yeah, take some time off, like you'll be fine, right? But there were really no solutions being thrown around. And that's when I also talked to you and we talked about POP. And then I talked to the Ray's doctor, which I think Coco Eaton, which did a great job. And he was like, yeah, let's do that. We got to do something, right? So that's when I got that. And then simultaneously, literally a week after the shot, we also got the Flex Pro grip from our head coach, which like really helped me to be like, okay, I got PFP, I did that, and I'm doing Flex Pro grip, so I'm actually doing something to help it, right? Because before I hated just sitting around. Like I wish the weeks before I could have also done that because I was like, just sitting around and like what I loved about it, like having something that you can do that makes you better while not like stressing the injury itself. So that was like a big step for me. Well, we actually lined up this program for me. I don't know if you remember, but like on the Excel sheet, these are the steps. You go through these like loops and then you're going to get better. So like that really helped me with the whole like rehab process.
At the time, you were also being guided through rehab with the help of the crew at Driveline
Yeah.
as well as Larry over at Star Care, right?
Yeah.
And Larry, former athletic trainer for the New York Mets, does some incredible work. So I think it'd be great if you could give some flowers to some of the other people involved because I know you had a large care team that certainly
For
was
sure.
working pretty hard to get you back.
No, it was definitely cool because I had like I went from not having like anybody, I feel like, and then everybody just started slowly trickling in. And then at the end I felt like I had like this what you kind of said, like actually a team of people who covered every single part of the rehab. I think a lot of times when you have different PTs, right, like everybody kind of like fights against each other. It's like do that, do that, do that. But it was pretty combined. Like Larry was, and I still do the rehab program like to this day. It's basically just like real old school PT, which is definitely something to be said for. Like get in the gym for 3 hours and just like do them IYs and T's, all that old school stuff. Just get the shoulders right, like do forearm stuff, but like just the overall strength building. And then you had you obviously with the flex program side, and then you had Dylan with the side of reloading valgus stress, which we had a program for the first 4 weeks where I wasn't throwing, like slowly getting back into it. And then also obviously he wrote down the whole throwing program from week 1 to week 12. I think it was 12 weeks in total. I loved it because I had everything written down that I had to do. Everything was just like mapped out to a T. And I wish I would still have that now, like after rehab. It kind of goes away after rehab. And I hate it, but I think that's just baseball. But it was just like, okay, you go in, you have the warm up from driveline, you do these throws from driveline, then you take the flex pro grip, you do these drills, you go to the gym, do this arm kick from Larry. And it was like super just like mapped out, but everybody had like their own parts. And I think that's also like why it worked in the end with so many people because like it was very distinctly different.
I think that was explained beautifully. Obviously, it takes a care team to get these things done. You mentioned it when people work in silos, you're in for a bad time. Thankfully, we have the relationship with Driveline, which made it super easy to communicate. I'm on the line with Bo, just ensuring him that you're getting your work in and you're making your progress. Of course, you can communicate with him, but then it's another thing when he has outside sources coming in and reassuring him that progress is actually being made. There is a light at the end of the tunnel here, and it's actually in sight. Like we love the progress that's being made. Then maybe in later stage rehab, I think this would be something fun to talk about. You get to a point where you're throwing pens again. The velo's back, or at least just about back. You're starting to routinely hit the upper 80s again. When you really step on the gas, you can grab a 90 here and there. But at that point, you're effectively cleared. You're not quite at pre-injury velocities, but you would have been at a point where you could step on the mound and get outs if you really needed to, because the stuff has started to come back, the workload is dialed, everything that you covered in that last question. But then as you're on a recruiting trip up north, you stop in to see Dan Mahoney with Evolved Pitching. I'd love if you could kind of talk a little bit about that journey, because we probably ran into a wall to an extent with where you were at with your pitching development. You felt like you had checked every single box, from strength, from athleticism, and you're just stuck at 90 when you've previously been up to threes and fours, and it's hard to not want to be back there.
Yeah, I think I even started before that, like 2 weeks before that, when we hopped on a Zoom call. Again, first of all, before I say anything, it shows again, like having people that care and like just having a net of people, it makes a huge difference. People actually matter, and like, especially in baseball, it was just awesome to be able to connect to somebody else again and kind of like hear out what he had to say. And he kind of opened me up in a sense, but it's like every athlete is super unique. And I think anything I'm going to take out of it is like, we figured out, okay, what am I good at? What am I not so good at? And let's focus on what I'm good at. I like to move fast, don't have great hip shoulder separation, but I don't need that. Like, I'm associated. Just figuring out, okay, like, what is your bias and how you move, and move according to that. Don't like try to force yourself to be somebody that you're not. And that's also when I think I threw the easiest 90 in my life. Like, you saw the video, I was almost playing catch and I accidentally threw 90. And it was literally that of like, don't force yourself into something. Just like be loose, be yourself, know who you are. And even pre-injury, I was trying to be a super drop and drive guy, because that's just like what you kind of told what you're supposed to do. But when I look at when I'm throwing fast every time, it's like I'm super loose. Dan really just helped me to look at, okay, like what have you done in the past when you were throwing fast? What are your motor preferences? How does your body want to move? And how do we get from what you're doing now to when you were feeling really great? Honestly, it wasn't even having one drill or having like do this or like do this exercise in the gym. It's just like, okay, overall, let's just reset and be like, when are you at your best? When do you move the best? And like try to feel that when you throw.
And you feel to an extent you've been able to carry that with you now?
I'll be honest, like it comes and goes. Baseball is very much you like kind of forced into doing something. Like you're supposed to be that guy. And like I wouldn't lie if it's not. Sometimes I'm like, okay, who's right here? Because like when I talk to my pitching coach here, he doesn't believe in it. And then if I talk to somebody else, he loves it. It's super polarizing, but I think the beauty of it is the answer probably lies in the middle. I did the test. Like I know when I'm on my tippy toes, I'm way more stable. Like that's just a fact. Does that mean I like have to do that 100% of the time? No, but does it mean like I have to be on the heel? No, it's just like do what feels good for you. I think that's what I took away from like that weekend. And I think that's also what he preaches is like just do what feels good for you. And it doesn't matter who tells you like the drill or whatever. If it clicks in your mind, just do it. It's that simple. Don't overcomplicate pitching. You have your body. It knows what it wants to do. Don't force it to do something that it doesn't want to do.
Looking back at this rehab process, were there any hiccups or major learning moments that you feel have kind of shifted the way you look at things? Either like something you wish you did differently or something that you learned a lot from?
I kind of hate to say this, but I think it was the most flawless rehab like I could have had. I definitely learned a lot of stuff, but like I was still on the question of hiccups, and I'm like, it was just super linear, right? Like if you look at everything, like if you look at the flexible grip numbers, if you look at velo, if you look at throwing volume, if you look at pain, like it was super linear. Where I had more of a learning moment was when the rehab was done and I was in a game again. And I'm like,
Right.
rehab doesn't mean shit. Like you are in a game again. You don't have the controlled environment anymore. I think that was a big learning curve of like, okay, I've just gone through 3 months of very super structured throwing, and that's not the reality of baseball. Kind of me getting to grips with, I love living in this rehab bubble because it was like, honestly, like throwing wise, my arm felt great, but that's just not what baseball is. It literally took me this long because for the last 2 months when I was throwing in the season, I went away from a lot of the stuff that I did during rehab. And now, like the last week, it was literally this week, I was sitting at home and I was like, why did I stop doing some stuff that I did during rehab? You obviously can't do it to the fullest extent, but you should still be doing the things that made you feel that good. I was throwing 92 so easily then, and now I'm like huffing and puffing. Maybe like just go back a step and be like, okay, like this is not a rehab, but a lot of the stuff that you have during rehab is a great tool to have and like to do. For example, one thing, just to like shout out one thing, is the pulse, the sensor for my arm, right? Doing rehab, I had a radar gun behind me every throw. I had the pulse on me every single throw. And every single throw, I would look on my phone and be like, okay, that's the speed and that's the arm sweep. This is what I'm trying to hit, and this is how many throws I did. And then I feel like as soon as I got back to season, I was just like, oh, let me just throw the ball again. Without really regard for like, okay, keep your light days super light. Like actually have an impulse of like, look at your phone, be like, that was too fast. And I kind of lost that. And this week I was kind of going back and I was like, okay, like I gotta go back to the stuff that I was doing during rehab.
There's a couple hugely important points that you hit on there that I want to call out. The rehab piece, well, I guess there's a couple answers you gave regarding the rehab piece. Yeah, you're 100% right. You're no longer rehabbing. You're in open water now. You got to figure it out and win. Oftentimes you forget about a lot of things. One, like you no longer have your life jacket. It's sink or swim
Yeah.
when you're out there playing again. So that can be a tough bridge for individuals to cross when you don't have the safety net of going back to look at a structured throwing program or something of that nature, or just like the ease of knocking out your eyes, Y's, and T's and saying, I had a great day. You can certainly get your ass kicked pretty quickly when you leave 90-mile-an-hour heater right down the dick and it gets sent in the right center gap. But then the next piece of that, the other side of the rehab piece, yeah, like there should be a really solid blend between rehab and performance training. And just because something gets labeled rehab doesn't mean you can't do it. You nailed it. You said, why would I not do the things that make me feel good and feel better and feel fresh? And when I do those things, I know I can perform just because they're labeled rehab. Like that's so short-sighted. Bring those back. If it makes you feel your best, you should be doing it. And obviously, you're doing it during rehab for a good reason because it is designed to get you healthy or recover or feel better or get you stronger. Just because it's labeled rehab doesn't mean you can't do it when you're healthy. So I'm glad you came to that realization. That's a very important point to come to.
I think it's kind of like just on a psychological level, it's just human nature of like, oh, we're hurt, so we have to do this. And then as soon as we're not hurt again, we stop doing the things that helped us not to be hurt in the first place. I mean, you should probably have it with flexible grip all the time where like people use it during rehab and then they go back to throwing, they're like, oh, I did it during rehab, I don't need it. But the right solution is just to keep doing it so you don't even get to that point in the first place, or even better, do it before you get hurt, right? Like that would be the best solution of all. So like I think it's kind of, and it's not just baseball, it's like every sport, but I mean, we're kind of dumb. Like let's be honest, like we're pretty dumb and like we're pretty short-sighted, but trying to get out of that mindset and trying to be like, okay, what makes me feel the best? So I got to do that because that's what helped me to get healthy anyway.
I have one more question about the rehab. You mentioned the linear progression that you went through, which is so much different than 99% of the
Yeah,
rehabs.
I was super lucky. I
Yeah,
was super lucky.
you were super lucky to have a flawless rehab. Do you think a lot of that came down to you having one, the care team, and two, kind of the data surrounding what you were doing so you always knew where you were at? Whether it's being able to look at your whoop, whether it's tracking your throws, whether it's pulse or radar gun, flex pro grip, you always knew where your grip strength was. You just had so many things working in your favor that I'm assuming that enabled you to just say, like, yeah, I'm on the right track. I can make an adjustment if I need to, but this is trending the right direction.
Yeah, it's crazy because before rehab, I was kind of that way where I looked at data a lot, but then you kind of nailed it. Like doing rehab, I had so many like away from just like people telling me what to do. I had so many like different machines telling me what was happening. As you said, like I had the Whoop for like sleep and stuff, which is obviously important during rehab. And then like the pulse during throwing, the radar gun, which you forgot was like the armcare.com, like
Oh yeah,
the
you were doing
arm
that too.
sensor.
Yeah, yeah.
So like I was literally testing my shoulder strength every single time before I throw. I was testing my forearm strength like after throwing with the Flex Pro grip every single day, and you could just see like the progress going up. And I think the biggest thing with that is if there would have been a dip in any of that, that's when we would have like cut back the throwing. But I just got lucky enough, or like I don't even want to say lucky because I think a lot of it was just like me busting my balls just
Yeah.
doing rehab. Like I was in the gym, I'm not even kidding, like, probably 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. Like it wasn't like I just got lucky and I threw and it stopped hurting. No, like I did a lot of things that then helped me to not have any pain again. I sometimes see like a kid he is rehabbing right now, and he literally did his whole 5 week rehab without a gun. And I talked to him about it. He was kind of defensive about it, but like, how do you know how fast you're throwing? Like you have no idea if you're like throwing 90 right now and your body like can't handle it. I'll be honest, sometimes I hated it because it was like I don't want to throw 65 miles per hour into this net 50 times right now. But like having that like safety net really did help me to not overreach, which I think chronically I'm somebody who overreaches a lot because I try to do so much. And that's kind of also what I said about like, okay, I'm going to start using the pulse again because I noticed, okay, this summer I had a really good rehab and then I overreached. And it's like I didn't learn from my mistakes. So I like now it's like, okay, let me take a step back and I gotta actually like use it now too when I'm not hurt. Like use the same data that I was when I'm not hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. I appreciate you kind of opening up about that and being introspective because we wouldn't be at this point without your introspection. Now, the next place I want to go is a look into the future. We've talked so much about the past. You've got UTD coming up in just a few weeks now. We're recording this August 6th. Don't quite know when it's coming out yet, but heck, when this comes out, you might be back stateside sweating your balls off in Dallas, Texas, because that place is hot. But yeah, what are you looking forward to with UTD? Ultimately, why was that the school that you wanted to spend your next 2 years at?
I think first of all, a big thing for me, like I want to show that I can be like a top dog in D2 baseball because I know I can. But I always said this and I believe in this. Like I'm not gonna transfer in conference. Like I just think that's not something that I stand for. And like whoever does it, like it's fine. But like I didn't want to play against Eckerd College, so I was kind of like, okay, what's the second best conference to go to? And that's when I kind of put my eyes on Texas. And like huge shout out to Coach Bo. Like without him, this would have not been possible. But he was like, okay, like loved having you for 4 years. I know it didn't work out the last year, like no pressure, but like give me your top 3 schools and I will reach out to them, which is like just crazy. I think like there's a very few coaches on like this planet that would do that. So I told him, okay, this is 1, 2, 3. UTD is number one. And literally the same day he called them and like they got back to me within like 24 hours. So whatever he said, it was definitely something positive because I don't think they would have called back that soon. But again, like this would have not been possible without him like reaching out and then me talking to them. And of course, like it's also funny because at the beginning they were pretty skeptical because I was injured. I can't get mad at that. But then the longer the rehab went, and especially when I started sending the videos of me throwing little 90s again, then it was like, okay, like we really want you to come here. So I think again, a lot of pieces had to fall in place. Like the rehab had to have went as smooth as it went for me to even go there. But like now I'm super happy I'm in this place and I just hope like next year I can compete at the level I know I can compete at and actually like do good. Because I've done okay, but like I've never done good, and I think I can do good.
Now, a couple things. You mentioned off air finding the fun again in playing, and you're actually better when you separate from that bulldog FU mentality and more just to go out there and enjoy a kid's game. You talked about it a little bit earlier on the podcast as well. Pairing that with going into a new school and having to compete and earn a role, earn a spot, how do you think you're going to be able to manage that?
It's tough, but I think the biggest thing is just like, honestly, it comes back to like people and getting a connection with the team. When I talk about having fun on the field, 90% of that is me wanting to play with the 7 guys that are behind me and throwing to the guy that's like catching my ball. So I think that's kind of what it comes down to, honestly, because like I know I'm good enough to compete, but I just want to be with like 8 people on the field that I want to win with. So like I think that's the biggest thing when I get there, like lay the groundwork of just like getting to know the guys, being a team, and then like I think everything else is gonna fall in place because I know I got the talent, I know like I got the hard work, and whatever I don't have when I get there, like, I'm gonna figure out just by like, working my ass off because that's what I do.
And maybe the last question, it was hard not to let you mic drop with that final answer there. But we talked briefly about you trying to make that transition to starter. You obviously are coming off the UCL sprain. Do you have a desired role at UTD, or do you just want the ball and be able to throw it?
Dude, it's so tough. I think I am better as a reliever slash closer, but starting is a lot of fun. But if I'm being honest, if the coach would ask me right now, like if you have the choice to be the closer or be a starter, I would probably choose closing right now. And it's honestly, a lot of it is also health reasons, just because like I know I can throw the shit out of the ball for like 25 pitches. And I know I'm like really, really good doing those 25 pitches, but if I throw 50, like I just feel like I'm a little worse. Not saying I'm bad, but I'm a little, and I'd rather be at my best, if that makes sense.
And how do you feel about then your ability to recover? You've obviously had to bounce back in short stints, throwing in the back end of the bullpen, versus then the added benefit of being a starter is you know exactly when you're going to throw every week. Weighing those pros and cons, have you noticed anything about like your ability to bounce back throwing out of the pen versus knowing every single week that you can bust your ass in the weight room and you can do all those things without even having to think about the Saturday to come or the Friday to come until it's a day
It's
or
like,
two away?
it's so tough because when I was a starter, like, again, I never actually started a game, but in the preseason, I loved it, right? I'm such a routine guy. I loved rehab. Like, I love having routines. But then if I think about almost every single time where I threw back-to-back days, the second day was almost always better. And it goes back to like the whole thing. The second day, I always just pitch. I think the first day I just try to throw the shit out of the ball, and the second day is like I actually pitch. So I don't think I've had a problem with bouncing back, especially in Germany because we play Saturday, Sunday. So like I'm used to throwing back-to-back days, but I'm definitely gonna miss the whole like routine thing about starting. Like I had a blast doing that for like what was it, 2 months while it lasted before I got hurt. Like I do love that part.
Yeah. Well, Ricky, this really does it for me. I feel good about the ground we covered. Do you think there's anything that we have missed that is worth sharing?
I don't think so. No, I think we've covered everything. Just one thing is definitely want to say thank you to you and huge shout out to Flex Pro Grip. Like I'll be honest, I think if I wouldn't have had that first meeting at that field with you and realizing, oh, there is a problem with the strength side of it, I think this rehab would have looked very different. Because trying to figure that out is so tough. Because even when, for example, when I was doing like the regular grip test, like I was always in a really good percentile. But just knowing, okay, the muscles that are actually important for baseball are really weak, I think that's something that's super important for people just to know.
Well, I appreciate that, man. That means the world to me. Obviously, you mean a lot to me. I've loved the friendship that we've developed just beyond the player-coach relationship. And I can't thank you enough for the trust. It's been great getting to work with you all these years, and I'm glad you're able to hop on here and share your story.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And to all the listeners out there, thanks for laying back with us.